Hello YouTube, how's it going? It's the Professional here. Today I wanted to do a review on the Mule Custom. Once again, I'm sorry that it took me some time to do these reviews. I was just very busy with my 5 million a day guide I made recently. If you guys want to check that out, I will have the Pounder Custom review as soon as I can after this. Anyways, on to the video. The Mule Custom is a custom version of the Mule Truck, which many of us recognize from CEO and hanger crates. This truck often carried cargo in the back. You can purchase it on the Warstock for a trade price of $43,200, but you need to do 5 sell missions. I personally just recommend buying it. The difference in price is only $14,000, so it's not really worth doing the trade price. This truck has somewhat bullet protection. I'll talk about that a little later, as well as bulletproof tires. However, do not purchase any liveries for this truck because there's virtually no point and it's a waste of money. What's kind of stupid about this truck is that you can't change the color of the armor, and when you do change the color, it's only the small holes that you see on the outside of the armor. Almost everyone's truck will be painted black. In terms of weapons, this thing has an optional machine gun similar to the Night Shark and a missile launcher. While the missile launcher isn't great, it's much better than the machine guns. Just buy the missile launcher. It also has an additional grenade launcher on the top, which is similar to the Kunjali grenade launcher. So here I decided to do a speed test on the Mule Custom, and I decided to compare it to two similar vehicles. One, as you guys can see on the right, is the Pounder Custom, which also came out in the After Hours DLC, and on the left we have the Brigade, which is used to deliver crates and CEO cargo missions on sale missions. So all of these vehicles are delivery vehicles for sell missions, and as you guys can see from this test right here, the Brigade is absolutely destroying the Mule Custom, and the Pounder Custom, while it doesn't take off immediately just like the Brigade, it does pass the Mule Custom and gets a good distance on it. In test number 2 right here, I decided to get a 2-second head start on both the Brigade and the Pounder Custom to see if I could make it to the end of the runway without either of them passing me, and both of them passed me. The Brigade managed to easily pass me early on. The Pounder Custom passed me as well, but it passed me near the end of the runway. So right here, the Brigade is able to easily catch up to me and pass me. It's definitely one of the best delivery vehicles in the game, but you can only get that with CEO crates when you have a truck delivery. And then the Pounder Custom passes me as well. Even though it's the bigger vehicle, the Pounder Custom is faster than the Mule Custom. In terms of driving at top speeds, the ram on this thing is absolutely useless. You'll smash into a car going top speed, and you can actually spin out. You'll lose more than half your speed. You can't smash anything out of the way with this thing. The ram is just terrible on this thing, very similar to the Speedo Custom. I don't know what the point of Rockstar adding a ram on these vehicles is if doesn't really do anything. Doesn't really smash vehicles out of the way. It actually stops your truck and makes it harder for you to drive when you smash things out of the way, so there's pretty much no point to this thing. One thing I have to warn everybody about this truck, and similar to the Pounder Custom, because the Pounder Custom also has this problem, if you run over something like a small rock or some kind of small obstacle, you have the potential of getting this truck stuck on that, and this can be an absolute nightmare if it's a sale mission. Imagine if it's a sell mission, imagine how horrible that would be. In this case, I managed to get this truck stuck on a few small rocks right here. You can get unstuck if a friend takes like an armored vehicle or a big truck or something and smashes you out of the way, but it's still scary that you can get this thing hooked onto something easily. So when you're doing sell missions, be very careful what you drive on. Try not to drive off-road with this thing, because you don't want to get this stuck, especially when you're selling cargo. In terms of weapons, this thing does have a missile launcher, but it's very disappointing because it's not lock-on. I was actually shocked by that. I thought the missile launcher would be lock-on, but it's the exact same kind of missile launcher that we have in the Weaponized Tampa. And you can hit your target, you can hit what you're aiming at, but remember, you gotta manually aim at the target because there is no lock-on. In terms of capacity, this truck carries 30 missiles, and when you fire those 30 missiles, you're out. The only way to get more would be to take it back into your nightclub garage, or to request another one. But one thing that I do like about this truck, unlike the Weaponized Tampa, this truck gives you the option of switching to a drive-by weapon, so it doesn't force you to use the missiles the entire time. And this is very similar also in the Speedo Custom. In the Speedo Custom, you have the exact same thing. It doesn't force you to use the main gun on it. If you want, you can switch to a drive-by weapon. And what's nice about this truck is you can fire at 360. You can pretty much fire this anywhere you want, all around the truck with your drive-by weapon. If you're going to be firing this towards NPCs, I personally recommend backing up because they can't shoot you really from the back, and you can pretty much hit them. But if it's against a player, they could blow you up easily. The other weapon on this vehicle is a grenade launcher that can only be controlled by the passenger, And this grenade launcher is very similar to the Kanjali grenade launcher, but the main difference between this and the Kanjali is that this grenade launcher has unlimited ammo. Me and my friend fired over 100 shots at this thing and kept going, and the thing didn't appear to run out of ammo. You gotta be careful when aiming this thing because this truck has very little armor, and you don't want to accidentally blow yourself up. But one bad thing about this grenade launcher, and you can see right here in this example, since the truck is so high and this is at the top of the truck, it's pretty hard to hit a target that's right below you. So if you have like an enemy chasing you right below you, really close to you, pretty hard to hit them with this thing. You gotta get a little bit of a distance before you can fire it. However, the grenade launcher has a very slow rate of fire, and personally, I think this is a missed opportunity because they could have easily put in a remote control turret on this thing. Like, why a grenade launcher out of all weapons on top of this thing? Like, wouldn't you guys have preferred a remote control grenade launcher like similar to the Speedo Custom? That would have been so much better than this thing on top here. One other thing that I wanted to mention about this truck is one main difference between the Mule Custom and the regular Mule is the regular Mule could only carry 2 people, while the Mule Custom can carry 4 people. You can have 2 people hanging on the sides, and they can fire assault rifles and light machine guns and submachine guns off the side, so you can get some firepower downrange. However, you would need a front passenger in order to get 2 people hanging on the side. However, when you're driving, you gotta be very careful because you could easily bump into something and knock them off. Like, even if you scrape a car, you could have your friend fly off, so you gotta be careful when you have people on the sides. Instead of having people on the side, I personally think it's better if you have a buddy just sit on the roof of the truck. They can't fall off even if you're driving at top speeds. And what's really good about them being on the top of the truck is they can shoot any weapon they want. Sniper rifles, rocket launchers, minigun, anything that they want, they can shoot on the top here. So if you're doing a cell mission with this truck and you want to have a friend cover you, then have them just get on the roof of the truck versus actually just using the grenade launcher or just hanging on the side. This is actually much more effective. Finally, in terms of armor, this truck has very similar windows to the Speedo Custom, and they offer you somewhat bullet protection in it that they will be able to protect you and the passenger from the first few number of shots, but after a number of shots, the windows will break and the passenger and the driver will be exposed and be able to easily be shot out. And in terms of explosive resistance, this truck only takes 1 RPG. Very disappointing. It should take more, but on cell missions, this truck can take much more explosions, but on free mode, just 1 RPG. Now here we come to our pros and cons. And from the pros, we see the truck is not expensive, so it's pretty cheap. Even if you choose not to get the trade price, if you choose just to pay the regular price, it's still pretty cheap. It can carry 4 people, unlike the Mule, which can carry 2, but remember, those people can easily fall off even if you touch something barely, like if you just scrape a car, they'll easily fall off. It has unlimited grenades in the grenade launcher, so that's definitely a plus, and it can use drive-by weapons, and you can fire them around 360. Now the cons, it has a terrible ram. Very bad for ramming anything. You hit something with that ram, and you could easily spin the truck out. Very bad armor, just like in the Speedo Custom. Terrible armor, can get blown up in 1 RPG. But remember, on cell missions it's more, but in free mode, it's just so disappointing the amount of armor that this thing has. It doesn't have great speed. It doesn't have lock-on missiles, so they give you missiles, but they're not lock-on, which I don't really understand. There's no remote control gun. Why is there no remote control gun on this truck? This truck should have a remote control gun. It was a missed opportunity. If the Speedo Custom can have a remote control gun and the Pounder Custom can have a remote control missile launcher, this should at least have some kind of remote control gun on top, like a machine gun at least on top, something. Even if it was a manual gun where somebody would get on the top like in the Armored Box film and just fire it, it would still be better than this grenade launcher. And it can get stuck easily, and to top that off, the paint, even the paint is a con on this thing because there's pretty much no point in buying any kind of liveries or paints on this truck because the armor will not change colors. The armor on the Speedo Custom changes colors, but the armor on this truck doesn't change colors, so don't purchase any paint on this thing. Just keep it the default colors. Not really a point in purchasing paint because you only see a small part on the outside. And even though this truck has so many cons, I personally prefer driving it over the Pounder Custom in a cell mission because it's a smaller vehicle and it's easier to get around corners, easier to turn than the Pounder Custom. Even though the Pounder Custom is faster, this thing, even though it can get stuck, it's not going to get stuck as easily as the Pounder Custom. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, drop a like. Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you enjoy my channel and you think that my content is worthy and you're a new visitor, then subscribe to me. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.